Okay, Basi, Legani, Shusterman, Beis, Eis, Vav. Okay, we'll start from the beginning of Eis, Vav again. Page Lamed Aleph in these booklets. Okay, the last thing the Alter Rebbe was explaining that the pasuk begins Naftali Ayolo Shlucha feminine, and then it ends Anesinim Reshafer. So the Alter Rebbe explains that every level after the Tzimtzum is feminine. And therefore we say Ata Hashem Elokim Levadecha, Ata is Aleph Taf Hey, and then it says Ata Sisa Aleph Taf, which is feminine, At, even though you read it Ata. So he says that the whole inyan of Tefillah is to fix what's lacking. That's the concept of daven. If you have it, you don't need to daven for it. So you daven for something you don't have, which is the level of Naftali, and because Elokus after the Tzimtzum is much less, so we're davening that that level of Elokus should be revealed again, which is through, like the Alter Rebbe says, I only want you, I don't want you Gan Eden, and every Jew is able to ask that request because the Alter Rebbe broke through the child. Yeah? Okay, I got it.
What about it? We pray, we daven to gain a material well-being.
That means you don't have it and you're asking for it.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's what davening is all about. Okay, so the first few lines here we learned. Now, this is all done in the Mishkan down here through taking the 13 or 15 objects. Shekelim is kolem kulay, that includes the whole world. Sheh klolis. To make a dwelling place down here. That's the whole purpose of building a Mishkan or Aravite of Torah Mitzvahs, is to reveal Elokus down here. The Sham Guf and there itself. To reveal Elokus in the lowest of all places. That was the purpose of the Tzimtzum. Like he explains in the Maamar, that the whole creation of the world, we learned many times that through Tzimtzum Arishin, then the various different Tzimtzumim. And he says, not only Tzimtzum Loshin Yachid, it doesn't only mean one Tzimtzum, like the Baal Shem Tov state of that he brought before. Shakadosh Baruch Hu also kamet tzimtzumim that are kama elements. Hashem not only made one tzimtzum. There's like he's going to say, there's infinite tzimtzumim. And he said, "Lo shin kama made al misper bilti mesuyim." Kama means many, means there's unlimited amount of tzimtzumim. Shai be'emes yesh tzimtzumim rabim. Adin kes, there's an infinite amount of tzimtzumim. Why? Kivin sheyesh elam is beli misbar, just like there's infinite amount of worlds, and every world is lower than the earlier world. In every world, Bina is lower than Chachma, and Das is lower, and so there's infinite worlds, there's infinite levels in each world, so therefore there's infinite tzimtzumim.
Happening right now.
Huh?
Tzimtzumim happening right now.
Yeah. K'mesha Kos, V'alam is a mispot. Like the Basi says, the alam is a mispot, meaning there's an unlimited amount of maidens. Al tikri al alamis. Elo elamis, hayri b'meili, yesh gam tzimtzumim b'mli mispot. So therefore it's understood, there's infinite amount of tzimtzumim. Why did Hashem do all those tzimtzumim? To create tachtainim. What is our role in this whole thing? Hashem created the lowest of lowest levels, tachtainim. Our role is to make, through Avodah, is to make the dira b'tachtainim. That's why we become partners with Hashem. Hashem put the investment in, He made the world. Now we have to run the world. That's our investment, the partners with Hashem in making the dira b'tachtainim. And He says, there's a tzimtzum in every world, to every world, in every world. Klal is calling in a tzimtzum, generally speaking, he says, there's three general tzimtzumim, which is Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. Generally speaking, there's three, like the Rabbi said many times, there's infinite levels of Gan Eden. Generally speaking, it's higher Gan Eden, lower Gan Eden, but it's basically infinite amount. There's infinite amount of tzimtzumim. Generally speaking, it's Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. There's three general tzimtzumim from Hashem to us. One is min ha'maitzul in Netzalim, the way Hashem creates or forms Atzilus. Sha'ar nitzamtzim liyasnimshel b'shem Havaya, Dalit Eis Shem Havaya, which is the 10 spheres of Atzilus. In other words, from Elokus higher than world to create worlds, even Atzilus, is one level of tzimtzum. Why? Because now it becomes 10 levels. That's the way Anoichi, Ata, the essence of Hashem, comes into a name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yud is Chachma, Hey is Bina, Vav is the 6 spheres, and Hey is Malchus. That's a tzimtzum from the level which is higher than the world.
That's the level of Malchus Panui and the Chav?
No, this in fact he's talking about. Well, all of that is included into one, Tul Atzilus. And then he says, Tzimtzum HaBeis is Latzilus L'Biyah. The second symptom is Bria Yesh Miyayin, comes from Atzilus into Biyah, into Bria Tzir Nasiyah. Mishem Havaya to the name of Elokim. Because again, Atzilus is a level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, it's Elokus. World is created with Elokim. So in other words, like this, basically, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. There's a level of Anoichi which is completely higher than any worlds. Then it becomes Havaya, the level of Atzilus. Right? Above time and place. The level of Yud Kei Vav. Then it comes into Bria, Yitzir, Nasiya. That's the level of Elokim. That's in the first one. V'tzimtzum ha'gimel is b'shem Elokim gufa. Sheti esavis b'shem Elokim. That the creation from Shem Elokim should be in a way of Helam v'hester, of concealment. V'tachlis kol antzitzum. In other words, it's very interesting. You have okay, thank you. So you have like this. You have Ata, which is above Tzimtzum. Hashem, Elokeinu, Melech HaOlam. So these are three Tzimtzumim. From Ata, which is the essence, above world, above having any limitation whatsoever. Then you create, like he says here, Havaya, which is Atzilus. Then you have Elokeinu, which is Biyah, okay, Elokim. And then you have that Elokim should create limited worlds. That's Melech HaOlam.
So Biyah, there's Biyah, and then under that is our Eretz. What's under Biyah?
Bria?
Biyah.
Biyah, you mean?
Biyah. What's under Biyah?
That he said the third one is that Elokim itself should create worlds that are limited.
I thought the worlds are in Asiya.
No, even Asiya is the spiritual world. Bria Tzir and Asiya are spiritual worlds. From Asiya Ruchni comes Asiya Gashmi. Okay, anyway. The Tachlis called Tzimtzumim. What is the purpose? All these Tzimtzumim, infinite, but generally speaking, three, to have unity with Hashem. Hainu kol echad mi Yisrael, that every single Yid, v'chol b'nei Yisrael yisachtem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to become one with Hashem, ad la'achtas kazu, to such a unity that you can't even differentiate amongst Jews. In other words, that Vayemo Hiyi Hashem Echad Ushma Echad V'rol Kol Basa Yachtav, that even hunk of meat as meat will also V'rol in a right way of Re'iyah Ki Pi Hashem Diber, meaning there'll be such a revelation of Hashem that the highest level and the lowest level are equal, And then when that happens, the whole world is one with Hashem. There's not even separation of Atzilus and Bria. Now, in the Dira V'Tachtainim process, there's higher than Atzilus, and then Atzilus and Bria, that's now to create the Tachtainim. What's the ultimate purpose of this, which is obviously the era of Mashiach? What does it happen? What happens then? Then it happens then that everything is only a Go'elukus. That's it. There's no Atzilus, there's no Bria, there's no Yitzira, there's no nothing.
All inclusive.
All inclusive. That's the level of that revelation will be revealed at Tchias HaMesim. That's why it's the purpose of creation. Okay, so let's finish the Maamar. And through our Avodah, that we utilize. And the Rebbe said before, to fight this battle of Dira V'Tachtainim, the king throws out all the treasures. Throws them all out. So he says, we should utilize them. There's a famous man, the Rabbi said, Megis. He said a few times, we pour. That means this revelation's coming unbelievably abundant and great. Shenais and us and Akadnais and Melech Malchim Melech Gosh Boch L'chol Echad Mi Yisot every single Yid, which is a part of Tzivus Hashem to fight the battle of Hashem. When Mamal Tafkid and a person fulfills his mission. And you win the battle through the treasures. And then comes the ultimate Gilui of the Mashiach. Then will be fulfilled the promise. Everybody will see the revelation of Elokus, which is the level of Basi, Legani, Legani. The Malkim Shayi Ikir B'tchila, where Elokus was at the beginning. In other words, it's remarkable. The essence of godliness at the beginning of creation was down here. The essence of creation, Ikir Shechina B'tachtainim Hais. That's what the Medrash says. The Shechina was down here, Ikir Shechina. That means the level of Malchus Lifnei Atzimtzum. Okay, that level of Malchus is down here. So world had it already. So what's the problem? The problem is, Hashem says, that's not what I want. I want that I could do it. I can have the Shechina down here is no big deal. I want, in other words, in practical language, that I made a perfect world. Big deal. That's not what I want. It's not a unique thing. Of course God can make a perfect world. He can do whatever he wants. What does Hashem want? That we should make a perfect world. That's what he wants. We should make the perfect world. Now, how do you make a perfect world out of perfection already? How do you make a perfect world out of perfect? But at the beginning there was perfection. So how do you make perfection? How can a Jew make perfection of what Hashem made perfect? So what do? How do you put up a bigger building? You knock down the first one, and then you come and build up. So what did Hashem do? Neira lila b'nei Adam, like it says at the beginning of Tehillim. Hashem made a libel against people. He made Adam Rishon sin in the Eitzadas to destroy the world. And then he says, now, go do it yourself. 1 second. So we worked. You had the Avis, you had Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, you had Yosef, you had Moshe Rabbeinu. Comes Matan Torah, the world reached almost perfection. Almost. Hashem says, that's perfection of a tzaddik level. I want perfection of a Baal Tshuva level, which is even greater, because that's a bigger chiddush, it's more unique. So what do you do after Matan Torah? So God helps, he has a good sense of humor, he makes the golden calf, the eagle. Destroyed the world, put the world back into pre-Eitzadas level. They destroyed the world, mamashing, that's why it's such a bad sin. Adam Rishon sin was bad, And the Egel was a reincarnation, so to speak, of the Eitz Hadasin. So now Hashem says, okay, guys, now make it Baal Tshuva. And therefore he says, now make me a Mishkan. After Hashem Salachi Kidvarecha. Now from the time of the Beis HaMikdash until now, the Mashiach's coming, and we're going to have this Gilui of Lifnei HaTzimtzum and Iker Shechina B'Tachteinu Ma'isa. And not only that, not as much as it was before, because don't want you knocking it down, just keep it. To be greater than it was before. So the Eibush made, there's something called the Mishkan, and then the Beis HaMikdash, and then that destroyed, second Beis HaMikdash, that destroyed. And now we're doing the final, last 2,000 years, working on this ultimate Gilui. Now, in order to make Tachteinim, Dira B'Tachteinim, even in Tachteinim it can get worse. Lower. And we see where the world's going. It's going straight down, man. Choshech. The Yom is Choshech. You can feel the darkness. And therefore, what happened 1,000 years ago, even though it was after the Churban already, but 1,000 years was not Tachten Shein Lamata, Tachten Lamata Imenu. It still wasn't the lowest of Tachten. You had the Rishonim, the Rambam, Rashi, come on. Now we're going down, head first. This is the lowest of the low. And Dafka that, or brought into Choshech, L'chol B'nai Yisrael, Ha'ya'er B'mei Shveisim, this week's Parsha. That's the way we create this Dira B'Tachteinim that Hashem wanted from the beginning of creation. So it's a very simple concept of Dira B'Tachteinim. It was a process. Why? Because the more we do, the greater the revelation.
The revelation by all those generations that
we're not nothing
any kind of
nothing compared to what it's going to be.
What does it do? What does it do to all those generations?
They are
would not possibly experience that.
Yeah, but they did like this. So the question is, Chassidus asked the question many times, if the Rambam couldn't bring Mashiach, we're going to bring him? If Rabbi Akiva couldn't bring Mashiach, we're going to bring him? So the answer is, they're giants, and we're midgets, but the midgets are standing on top of the giants, so the midget sees further. It's a cumulative. Yes, all the generation were giants, and we're midgets, but we're the midgets on top of the giants. And what our uniqueness is that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have. When it says in Parashat Baloischa, Moshe was the most humble person that ever lived. It says in the Zohar, harder. Hit him harder. The whatchamacallit. The Zohar says that Moshe was most inferior when he saw our generation. That with all the darkness, we're still keeping Torah mitzvahs. Moshe Rabbeinu says, well, I couldn't do that. I'm not on that level. That's, what did you want?
Rabbi, if the Ruach Hashem was here and Ruach Mashiach was in the beginning, there without
Yeah.
and we know the times of Mashiach later on, there's not going to be able to do it fast, time. How is it possible to do time in the Exodus? How is that possible?
Because Ruach Lakim Rachefes Al Pnei Hamayim was the koyach, not the poil. It was potential.
So Iker Shechina was only here potential, not a...
No, Iker Shechina was, but that was from Hashem's perspective. He did it.
So do we still sin if Hashem does it? Only if we do it, we won't be able to sin?
Hashem not only allowed us to sin, this is the uniqueness of Chassidus.
He made us sin.
Ask the world, did the Eibishter want Eitz Hadas? Were you crazy? Of course not. Chassidus says, of course the Eibishter wanted Eitz Hadas.
So we should celebrate.
After the fact, when you bring Mashiach, we're going to celebrate Eitz Hadas. Okay.
Rabbi, how come he says, I came back to my garden, not to my field?
Because the world is a garden. It's beautiful. We can accomplish here.
How about the field?
Huh? The city is better than the field. The city is civilized. We make this a city. We make it civilized. Yes, there's a field that things grow. It's not like a desert. But our role is to make Midbar, desert, into city. To civilize it, where God rests. Adam.
Dayanim and the Mashiach, what good does it do to them when
You're going to come back again.
200 generations
Because
later,
they helped in the
something
pro-
happens to somebody else unrelated?
One second. They helped in the process.
But they didn't enjoy it. They
What
didn't
reward
know they had
did they
miserable lives.
You know the story? It's a Gemara in Tainus. You know the story in the Goyish world they took? It's called Rip Van Winkle.
Say it again.
Rip Van Winkle.
Rip Van Winkle.
Chayne- He's not American.
Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah. Chayne Amago saw a guy making a planting a carrot tree. An old man. He says to the guy, you know, sir, it takes 70 years for a carrot tree to produce fruit. You ain't going to be around then. Why are you doing it? Yes? So the guy answered him, you see this tree? This carrot tree? Why am I benefiting it from now? Because my grandparents planted it. I'm doing now for the sake of my children. Grandchildren. One minute, let me finish. So they all are part of the process. When you come and invent new medicine or technology, right? It wasn't a guy from today. It was the guys of all the scientific developments in the year helped to develop this new thing.
We're not enjoying anything from that.
Sure we are. All of Torah mitzvahs we got.
Right.
All the sages of the Torah that they taught us in the way to behave. Of course we're benefiting from it.
Isn't Mashiach comes, the dead will arise?
Yes.
So that they will enjoy it when the Mashiach
No, he asked me, but while they were alive, they couldn't enjoy it. But they did enjoy it because they know they're part of a process.
Okay, we are enjoying. What about the rest of humanity? Why not everybody enjoying it? Why are
They should.
A fraction of 1%.
They should.
But they are not.
That's
Why God deprived
Because they don't
them
learn
of that?
Chassidus.
What?
The Goyim don't learn Chassidus.
They don't learn.
Okay, and he says, "Be'ika beis hamikdash." It should be a beis hamikdash. Be'eta kodesh eretz asher eini Hashem tamid eini Hashem alakecha bo, where the eyes of Hashem are all constantly there, from the beginning of the time from the beginning of the year to the end of the time. Ve'in in yoytzim nei pshutai. It means, Pashut, simply, Shebekariv mamish hochel kol bnei Yisrael eretz hakodesh. That all the Yidden will go to Eretz Yisrael with the coming of Mashiach. Neshama is beguf, neshama in a body. Ben areinu, bizkeneinu, b'vaneinu, b'bneiseinu, like it says in this week's parsha. What did Moshe Rabbeinu tell Parei? Ben areinu, bizkeneinu, the men, women, the children, kasmum, zahavam, itam, with the gold and silver, like the pasuk says, beruchnius, spiritual gold and silver, meaning Ava and Yira. Children, life, health, wealth, and everything. The whole family. Yeah, it's a family event. B'simchas elam al reishim, with the ultimate simcha, begula amitas v'ashleim aydei Mashiach tzidkeinu b'meidav yameinu mamash. So this Maamar, the Rebbe is explaining that Elokus is all the way up, and Elokus comes all the way down to infinite amount of tzimtzumim. What is the purpose of all this? To create a dira le'yizbarach b'tachteinim through our avodah. Very simple. Okay, let's go start the Maamar from Tov Chav Beis, which is harder, but let's see what we can do about it. No, the two Maamarim that the Rebbe said explaining that 12th chapter Basi Legani. Okay, let's start it, at least until Yud Shvat. Basi Legani Achesi Kalam. Okay, all the Yud Shvat Maamarim begin Basi Legani. Like 99% of all Yutas Keslev Maamarim begin part of the Shalom. So 100% of all the Yud Shvat Maamarim begin Basi Legani. And you say, my Medrash, the Friedrich Rebbe explains based on the Medrash. Legani, Legani, to my guard, my dwelling place, the Malkum Shayi Ikra B'tchila, where I was at the beginning. The Ikra Shechina B'tachtenim Ha'is, the primary Shechina was down here. Aladei Shechatoim Silkos HaShechina Momata L'mayla. But through the Avedas, the equivalent to 7 Avedas, caused the Shechina to check out. Achakach Amdu Shiva Tzadikim. Then 7 Tzadikim got up. Himshich was a Shechina Momayda Lamata, and brought the Shechina back down from higher to lower. Admei Shrabeinu. Rei and Neman Shoko Yisrael, the faithful shepherd of all Eden, Shu Ashi, who is the seventh, from Avram Avinu, V'chol Ashvin Chavivin. And all seven are precious, Shehim Shechas HaShechina. He brought back, the Ovis brought back the Shechina from Rekia Aleph to, the Ovis brought the Shechina back from 7 to 6 to 5 to 8, and Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Shechina back down from first level of Rekia back down to earth. That's the ultimate purpose of Dira B'Tachteinim, that it shouldn't only be a matan Torah, it should be permanent. But matan Torah, therefore, right after the Shechina was brought back down by matan Torah, there was a tzivui, there was a commandment to make vasil in the shechanti b'seichem, the inyan on Mishkan, the inyan of the Mishkan, which is Migdash, which Mishkan is called Migdash. It says in the pasuk, Basi. So in other words, like this: how do you keep Alukus permanently down here? By building a Mishkan. Well, how is the Mishkan built? Again, through the Kroshim. Atzei shitim eindem. Mavai baruch and the Friedrich Rabbi explained at great length. She'esh is Kadesh, that the words, the letters of Kadesh, Kroshim board, made in Aleph and Aveda, shows what is the Aveda. In other words, like this: what does the pasuk say? The Rebbe is adding nuances. Vasisa sakroshim la Mishkan. Okay, you have to make. In other words, how do you make the Mishkan? Vasisa, how do you do it? Make the kroshim keresh sheker la Mishkan. Meaning, and Ati shitam eindim. Umavor baruch, and he explains how it can made Aleph and Aveda. V'tachos Aveda, the ultimate Aveda is you become Ati shitim. Not shtus, but not shtus of evil, craziness of kedusha. Shazel Aveda shalom alamitam v'das, which is completely illogical. In other words, the Rebbe says very simple. In order to create this Dira B'Tachteinim, to have the essence of Hashem revealed down here, you cannot have normal avodah.
Normal what?
Normal work. It has to be crazy work. Craziness of good. Because in order to reveal the essence of Hashem, which is above normal and crazy, and you need to do normal avodah is not going to do it.
Avodah on steroid.
Mesiras nefesh. Mesiras nefesh is higher than seichel. There's no reason in Torah for Mesiras nefesh. Like the Friedrich Rebbe said, we mentioned many times, the definition of Mesiras nefesh is azay und nit anders. This is the way it's going to be, and it's not what to talk about. It's not going to be any different. It's logical, illogical. It doesn't make sense. You're going to do something. There's no way in the world of nature you're going to be able to accomplish it. But that's only when you're doing it with normal, with nature, when you're doing with normalcy of worlds, or normalcy of worlds, whichever way you pronounce it. But when you want to bring down, you want to make Kaddish, Sheker to Kaddish, you want to make shtus of evil to shtus of kedusha, you got to go, woo, what?
No, I was saying like Governor Mouth when he was dancing with the Torah.
Also.
So that was her complaint, his wife's complaint.
That you're crazy.
Right. That's what I do.
So it's late now, but there was once a picture in the Allgemeine Journal. The Rebbe used to sometimes go to whistle by Verbringens. Yeah. To Abasera especially. The pearl, they printed a picture. They showed the next week. They made a picture of that. They took a picture, and it was in the Allgemeine Journal. There was a picture of the Rebbe whistling. So right away, Chassidim were screaming at him. It's not nice. The Rebbe is whistling. Why are you putting a picture? It's going out to all the from Yidden. And they were screaming and yelling. Anyway, next Verbringens, the Rebbe spoke a sicha, and he says, Rebbe used to. The Rebbe said, it's a pasuk in Chumash. When the Arden was coming back, He said David HaMelech was mecharked, whatever the words in the psukim, which by definition means David HaMelech was whistling. He says, what's the problem in Kedusha? Yeah, whistling is, whistling always in the frum world, a shay gets pfeifed.
It's not classic.
A shay a guy, yeah, exactly, a shay gets, yeah. Now, so, but there is, in Yiddish, an expression, unpfeif and developed means you don't reckon with world. You whistle on the world, you don't care about them.
Oh.
There's an Aved and Ruchnias, unpfeif and developed, meaning not to give a hoot about what the world's going to think or say or whatever.
Yeah, there's an expression, it's upset.